Hello and welcome to my VBA and Excel training channel. Today we're going to be looking at another beginner tutorial on how to transfer data from one sheet to another based on certain criteria. We're also going to be looking at do loop, an if-then statement, named range, and then how to establish that criteria when moving the data. So I've colored this sheet, sheet 1, kind of a light blue to differentiate when I'm toggling back and forth between sheet 1 and sheet 2. Sheet 2, you can see the data is essentially blank other than the headers. Sheet 1 contains our data. We have a named range here, and you'll see in this named range box that it says old, and then in sheet 2 we have a named range of new. That's going to just kind of help us navigate through our do loop. I have a button already set up. It works, and if you aren't sure how to create that, check out one of my other videos on how to set that up. And jumping over to VBA, we've inserted a module to create this macro, given it a name of move data, and I've set the variable of x to 1 and the variable of y to 1. And what we're going to do here is create a do loop. Here's the start of it, and here's the loop where it closes it out. So we're going to do the loop until range old dot offset x comma 0 equals blank. So what does that mean? X is going to be our row, 0 is going to be our column, and here's our named range that I was referring to a second ago. So what does that mean on the spreadsheet? So here's our range. We said x is equal to 1, so one row from that named range, and 0 was column, and all that means is that we're going to remain in this column, and since it's constant 0, we're not going to be moving from column to column. X is our variable, and as that X increases, we'll be running down the rows in this specific column, column A. And if you recall, the do loop said do until, this means blank. So it's going to work its way down here, and when it hits blank, essentially the macro is going to stop on A7. Next line says if that range of old dot offset x comma 1 is equal to 2, then it's going to do some additional steps. So what does this mean? Here we're establishing our criteria. In this case, we're using the same named range reference of old dot offset x for our row, 1 for our column. So you can see the difference between the two is we've moved over one column. So if we go back from our named range of old, we're now over one column, x is equal to 1, our row, so we now are referencing cell B2. So our criteria is 2, so it's saying if that cell is equal to 2, then proceed within the if-then statement and do the following steps. So in this case, range new is going to be equal to range old, to kind of put it in a simplistic way. So here's our old data, here's our soon-to-be new data, and all that's going to do in VBA is make one cell equal to another cell. So the first one says new y, which is equal to 1, column 0 is equal to the old data of x equal to 1 and column equal to 0. So in other words, it's going to take this and slide it over here, but only if this column is equal to 2 as it works its way down. And then same thing here, It's just, you'll notice the only thing that's changing here from line to line is 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. Our columns are increasing. Our row is not. At this particular point, it's remaining. Y is going to remain as 1. Okay, so after those actions are taken, then it's going to increase 1 or increase y by 1 count. So y is equal to 1, which is equal to 1 plus 1. So y then becomes 2 at this point in terms of its value. The if statement is ended, and then here, similar to y, x is going to increase in value by 1. At this point, it's able to loop back around to here, and with that loop, y is equal to 2, x is equal to 2. We've essentially gone down a row. We looked at this row, we're now looking at this row, looking for that same criteria of does the cell in this column for the respective row, is that equal to, as it states here. And as you can see that it did in cell B3. So it's going to carry out those actions again and repeat the process. It will increase y by 1, x by 1, and so on. So I think you get the point. You can go ahead and take a screenshot of that code if you'd like. But here I've synced that macro, move data, to that button. So all I have to do is click that button and it runs the macro. So it's obviously not looking at a lot of data, so it's very quick. Didn't even see it happen. So it goes to sheet 2. Here you can see on sheet 2 we only have 3 rows, but the data was transferred, and the reason for that we only have 3 rows, of course, is this row and this row did not meet our criteria of the number of doors equal to 2. They had 4 doors. As a result, the macro recognized that fact and skipped over those rows and didn't transfer the data. So we're left with this. So that's just to get across a basic concept for you. And something else in terms of the button, you'll notice it didn't really register. It wasn't very noticeable when the button was clicked that it moved to the other sheet and copied the data. So at that point we can come in here and we can say sheets sheet 2 dot select. Just a very simple update. We'll come back over here. I'll go ahead and clear out the data so you can see. Now when we run the button, it actually shifts and moves over to sheet 2. That's just, very simple extra step that you as a programmer can add for the end user so that they're following the macro because they're unable to visually see the code or understand what it means. So that about wraps up today's tutorial, and go ahead and comment down below if you have any additional things you'd like to see that are maybe related to this or have any questions. Give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.